What if one proposed rule change could make it difficult for sole practitioners and small brokerages to survive in North Carolina? And what if most brokers don't even realize it yet? There is one such proposed rule change from the North Carolina Real Estate Commission that is creating serious concerns across the state, especially for sole practitioners and small brokerage companies. The proposed rule states that an individual broker would no longer be allowed to represent both the buyer and the seller in the same transaction. Now, let me be clear right up front. This is still a proposed rule change. It is not final, and that means brokers still have time to review the language and respectfully speak up before the rule is adopted. Many brokers are asking a very important question. Are we about to create far more problems than we solve? Because this proposal could be devastating to sole practitioners. Large companies, large offices may be able to absorb these changes through designated dual agency structures with multiple brokers. But what happens to a smaller office where brokers naturally collaborate and share information while serving consumers? That is a real concern. Small offices brainstorm together, brokers help each other solve problems, and often confidential information may already be shared internally long before designated dual agency becomes an issue. So brokers are asking if information has already been shared inside the office, how can designated dual agency realistically function? And it can't. Because once information is shared, you can't unshare it. Under the current system, dual agents are expected to remain neutral. They act more like a referee in the transaction than a coach. They do not advocate against one side for the benefit of the other, and they do not share any confidential information that they have without permission of the client. Many brokers understand that role very well, and many consumers knowingly choose that structure because they want a more balanced transaction and they're comfortable with their broker. And here's another unintended consequence that really deserves some serious discussion. Many sole practitioners have spent years building businesses based almost entirely on referrals, trust, reputation, and long-term client relationships. These are not giant corporations. These are independent brokers who often know both parties personally and have successfully handled many transactions for them in the past involving dual agency, and they've done it ethically for decades. If this rule passes, many of those brokers may suddenly find themselves unable to continue operating the way they always have. Some may be forced to join larger companies simply to survive, and others may lose their business entirely. And that will change the entire structure of our industry. Another concern involves transactions already in progress if the rule is adopted. What happens mid-transaction when one broker acting as a dual agent when dual agency suddenly becomes a violation? Do brokers have to withdraw from representation? Do consumers suddenly get referred to an outside broker they never wanted to work with in the first place? Do transactions get delayed while everyone scrambles to restructure representation to stay in compliance? And most importantly, Could consumers be harmed in the process? These are not emotional concerns. These are practical, operational, consumer-focused concerns. And I'll add one more perspective. My personal opinion as an investor. Personally, I often prefer working with a neutral dual agent. Why? Because I believe it can level the playing field. A neutral dual agent is not aggressively advocating against the other side. Instead, they are helping facilitate the transaction fairly while protecting confidential information on both sides. Many experienced consumers actually prefer that model. So, again, brokers are asking, what problem are we trying to solve? And are we about to create a system that is more complicated, more disruptive, and potentially harder on consumers and especially small brokerage businesses? Now, whether you agree with the proposal or you disagree with it, one thing is certain. This is exactly why brokers should pay attention before rules are adopted. The Commission is accepting public comments right now through July 3rd, 2026. And a public hearing is actually scheduled for this week, May 20th, 2026. This is the time for you to go out, read the proposed language, think critically about it, ask some difficult questions, and respectfully participate in the process. Because once rules become final, it becomes much harder to change direction. Professionalism isn't silence. Professionalism is informed participation. I'm Kim Stotesbury, and I like to keep it simple. So stay informed, stay professional, and make sure your voice is heard.